Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beef Upfront podcast here on Pick Swap Media. Joined tonight by a couple special guests, some friends of the program, RJ and Joe. Last night, March Madness officially started with some conference tournaments in the Atlantic Sun. I went 0-2, off to a cold start already in the conference tournaments, but got some of the mid-major tournaments this week. You got a few more big games, especially tonight. We're going to get into all that, touch on more of these conference tournaments for these next couple weeks, and then the bracket. We're 12 days away now from Selection Sunday, so exciting time of year. Welcome back to the show, fellas, and how are we?
Good, man. Thanks for having us.
Good to be back, Beef.
How's it feel to be a retired basketball player, Joe?
Feels all right. Got a lot more
Ready?
time on my hands to study, so could turn the ship around quick.
All right, so we got, as we said, conference tournament started last night with the A-Sun. Only 2 games. Tonight, the quarterfinals go on with the A-Sun, and then we get the first round in the Horizon, the Patriot League, and the Sun Belt. So I kind of want to start in the A-Sun. Are there any teams that you guys are looking at, whether it's in the games tonight or on the futures market, out of the A-Sun that's sticking out to you?
Well, I took Eastern Kentucky in a little parlay tonight. I don't think they have a chance at losing that game. But I also took a shot on Lipscomb plus 300 to win the A-Sun. I watched their game the other day against Eastern Kentucky, and they just came out on fire in the second half, and I think they have the pieces to win. They're 20 wins. I mean, they shouldn't have a problem tonight either. I really feel like that matchup will be the championship, and I like Lipscomb in it.
Joe?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Eastern Kentucky to win this tournament. I have them in a parlay tonight as well. Um, if I'm not mistaken, the championship is it at Eastern Kentucky? 'Cause I
It's
saw
at
that.
they're on campus sites.
So that if they make it, I think it'll be there if they're the 1 seed then. So
Mhm.
they haven't lost at home all year in conference. They have pretty convincing wins. None of them are really even close at home. So I mean, if they want to make the tournament, they have to win their tournament. So they have the best opportunity at home. They've been cruising all year there, so I'll take them.
I took a long shot on one team out of the conference. It's because I've watched them a few times and they play like an up tempo pace and kind of like a shootout style, which I think is hard to prepare for in a tournament like this. They play tonight. That's North Florida. I took them at 20-1 as a long shot to win this. Yeah, out of the A Sun, they're 7-8 straight up as an underdog. So they're probably going to be an underdog every game the rest of this tournament. So if they get by tonight, then they're going to probably match up, I believe, with either Lipscomb or Stetson in the next round. I forget exactly who it would be. But what are your guys' thoughts on North Florida potentially making some noise there at 20-1?
I can't say I watched them this year, so I'm not sure.
I don't. I mean, I really don't hate it looking at their schedule, and I mean they're all in pretty much close games, and they just beat Stenson by 20. So they're the 2 seed of the tournament. So I don't see really why not. They can't get it done.
Yeah, so a little. I think with these conference tournaments, like I don't really think it's worth it taking a future on like a Eastern Kentucky at like what plus like 125. Why not just like bet them
Mhm.
in the championship game or something if they get there? I mean, you're not going to get as good as value, but if you maybe take them in the semifinals and then you just roll that over to the championship, but more so taking some long shot picks. The next conference tournament I kind of want to move on to though is the Patriot. That is the only one of the conference tournaments so far that the favorite is minus money. That's Colgate at minus 250. They've really been dominating this conference tournament over the past 5-6 years. The only one that they didn't win, I think, was the 2020 tournament when Boston won. And then, as we know, there wasn't even an NCAA tournament. I think I heard it was 31 of the 34 years that this conference tournament has been played. Either the 1 or 2 seed has won it. So it's been historically dominated by these top teams. You got Colgate as the 1 seed minus 250, Boston at plus 600. Lafayette's the 3 seed, but they're all the way down at 15-1. American at plus 750. They're the 4, the 5. And then Lehigh is a team that's been making some noise recently at plus 800. Do you guys think this one is chalk and Colgate's just going to kind of walk to this title?
Yeah, probably they do it every year. I haven't seen anyone in the Patriot League that convincingly looks like they have a chance, really.
Yeah, I got the same. I got Colgate winning it too, but I think it's definitely closer than years past. Like years past, it was really like I feel like they were higher than -250 to win it all. So I think maybe they'll have a chance at like a close championship game, but I see them easily winning it all.
I think this Colgate team is definitely the worst of the teams that we've seen the past few years go to the tournament because I think they've been a 14 or a 15 seed. This team, like, they might go to Dayton in the first four, or even just be like one of those 16 seeds that doesn't have to play in the first four. But at Torvik, the website that you can like sort teams by dates in terms of how they've been playing since February 1st, Lehigh's the second best team in the conference. They're sitting there at plus 800 with the fourth best odds as the sixth seed, and they're playing a Lafayette team in the first round that has been really struggling down the stretch. And then Lehigh lost to Colgate only by 3, and they lost to Boston by 2 in overtime. So they've been playing some of these top teams tough. Another team where I think you might be able to get good value on a potential dark horse because Colgate, as we said, not the dominant Colgate that we've seen over the past few years, but still they're the best team in this conference, indicated by those -250 odds. But I do think Lehigh's worth a stab. Higgins, I believe, is his name. Just came back. He's only played 20 games this year, but he's been playing really good basketball for them as well. So I think Lehigh is worth a potential stab because I do think they're definitely going to get by Lafayette. They'll probably be even favored in that game. We also got the Horizon starting up tonight. That one is going to be a pretty fun tournament. You look at Youngstown State at plus 195 as the 2 seed. They're the favorite. Oakland at plus 240. They're the 1 seed. Then Wright State plus 275. They're the best team in the country to the over this year. So when you talk about tournament style games where you have to have a quick turnaround and play a team that you might not be ready for, even though you've seen them a couple times this year, that's still a really hard style to play against. Do you guys like anyone specifically coming out of the Horizon League? And do you think Wright State there at plus 275 is a chance?
Go ahead, Joe.
I was looking at these odds earlier, and I actually my eyes kind of caught to Wright State at plus 275. This tournament's always, I feel like I watch a championship game and they always play in like the 80s, 90s. So they just go up and down, they fly around. I don't mind. I watched a couple of Northern Kentucky games. I think I watched them against Wright State and they beat them actually. So I think they also have a good shot at winning it. I would take either of those two, I think.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I also watched a few Northern Kentucky games and I kind of like their style and just how they play. And I just think I don't know this. I feel like this conference could really be anyone's conference.
Yeah, I think I saw. Yeah, the conference title game in the Horizon League has been the number 4 versus the number 3 in the last 2 years. So we haven't really seen the top 2 dominant teams from the conference. So this one is subject to some chaos potentially, but the odds are really reflecting 3 teams. It looks like, right? Youngstown State at plus 195, Oakland at plus 240, and then Wright State at plus 275. You guys like Northern Kentucky? They're all the way down at 14-1. So when we're talking long shot teams, like we already mentioned, Lehigh 8-1, North Florida potentially at 20-1, Northern Kentucky there 14-1. It could be one to keep an eye out for as well. Also, probably 2 of the 5 worst teams in college basketball in this conference, and IUPUI in Detroit. Once Detroit loses tonight, they'll finish their season, I think, 1-31 overall. So get them out of the way. I want though for like have them, Mississippi Valley State, IUPUI, and then throw some other team. Give them like a little slop bowl Final Four and have them.
Throw Siena in there too.
Yeah, Siena.
DePaul.
Yeah. Let's give DePaul like a bye. Have it be like a 6-team tournament. DePaul, maybe even throw Georgetown in there too. But that would be a fun little slot bowl type of action. Last conference tournament that's starting up tonight is the Sun Belt, actually. The game's just tipped off a little bit ago. Got a few 6 o'clock tip-offs. Means Coastal Carolina, UL Monroe, not expecting anything from either of those 2 teams. But Sun Belt, guys, is there anyone in that conference that you guys are keeping an eye out for? This one, it looks like it's very heavily favored towards App State and James Madison, but curious what your guys' thoughts are on this conference tournament.
I like JMU a lot. I went through their schedule again, and they lost 2 times to App State. So like as you know, like in basketball, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. So I feel like it'll be a JMU App State chalk final, and I got JMU winning that game.
Yeah, I agree. I think JMU is going to win this conference too. Looking at, I think Arkansas State ends up in the championship. They're going to beat App State, I think, and then JMU will beat them in the championship. That's how I have it going, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at James Madison too. They took the odds off the board for the futures because they had a few games tip off. But I think James Madison at the 2 seed was like plus 120.
Yeah, that's where they were.
And they came into the limelight at the beginning of the year, obviously beating Michigan State on opening night. But we haven't heard as much about them since the year's gone on. But they have the most wins in college basketball this season. They went 28, or so far at least, they're 28-3. As we know, like UConn and Purdue, they still have a couple games to go. But this is a James Madison team too that I saw was like even in consideration on the bubble. I doubt they get in unless they make it all the way to the final and it's like a crazy game against App State, and maybe they'll squeak in as an at-large, but most likely not. But it definitely looks like a 2-horse race to me. Arkansas State has been a team though, Joe, that I have seen pick some people off, and Troy's been really good, but super dominant at home. This is a tournament that these are all at neutral sites, so I think that's one of the major things you kind of got to take into consideration as well. But then tomorrow, you got the Big South tipping off the NEC, which goes right to the quarterfinals, and then the OVC. And then Thursday is when we actually start getting some afternoon games, and it's really on from there. But that's our kind of little touching on some of these conference tournaments, maybe take a few long shots, throw a few prayers in there. But we got some games tonight still, some regular season matchups, some power conference games, as well as some non-Power 6 games that we're going to touch on as well. So both of us, we both have a play in this Purdue-Illinois game. You guys want to hit on your play for it first?
Yeah, we got Purdue at -1. What was it? 125, 130.
Yeah, Illinois is not Purdue.
Or yeah, Illinois. Yeah. I mean, we got that last night, and since then it's gone up to -140. And I like this play a lot just because I remember when they were at Purdue and they didn't have Shannon at the time. There was a bunch of distractions with the allegations, and they were down 20 like all game and came back to lose by 5. So I think they kind of figured something out in those last 10 minutes, and I see them winning like by at least 5 to 7 tonight.
Are you guys buying this Illinois team long term? They're plus 700 to win or to make the Final Four, and then I believe to win it all, they're 30-1. Do you think either one of those is worth a stab? I just haven't been able to fully commit to this team all year. I don't know if it's a Brad Underwood thing, but I think they don't really have like a point guard, and I think they can get a little too chaotic down the stretch of games, and those last 4 minutes where in the possessions start to shorten up.
I could definitely see that. Like I feel like Underwood really hasn't had much success either. Like I feel like he's had better teams than this, like with like Trent Frazier and Kofi Cockburn and those teams. And they don't defend enough for me to see them making a big run.
Yeah, I think they're really hit or miss. That's really how their season's been. They could lose to anyone any night, or they could beat anybody any night. So you really never know what you're going to get out of them. But, I mean, they could score the ball, but can't really defend it at the same time. So anything could happen with them, I think.
It sounds a lot like kind of describing like Kentucky as well, where I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them in Arizona at the Final Four or getting picked off in like a 5-12, 4-13 game. My play in this game, though, I'm going with the over 163. I know Illinois has had a good offense, but they've kind of snuck up on how good they've been to the over recently. They're 21-8 to the over this season. That's the third best mark in the country. And I am expecting this one to be back and forth, and I don't think it's necessarily going to sail over the 163, but I could see this one being where we're getting some free throws at the end of the game, and in the last 2 minutes or so, you get 10 points or whatever from the line, or a couple easy layups to potentially go over there. So I'm going to go with Purdue, Illinois over the 163. And then your guys' second big play of the night, it comes out of the Florida-Alabama game. I heard earlier, Alabama 1-7 against Ken Palm top 25 teams on the year. Florida, I believe, fits into that top 25 there. Haven't been able to beat these good teams this year. Do you think the Gators get this one done at home and Alabama drops 2 in a row?
Yeah, I think Florida wins by about 8 to 10 tonight. I think, I mean, we were talking about it last night a little bit. It's really just going to be who makes more shots. So I think Florida has the edge there, being at home. They just played Alabama like maybe 2, 3 weeks ago. They lost in overtime, and Alabama dominated the glass that game. So I think Florida they'll see that. They'll know they got to rebound the ball this time. They'll adjust. I think they'll be even in the rebounding category tonight. And I think that comes down to making shots, and I think they'll make a couple more than Bama does tonight.
Yeah, I got the same kind of take. I mean, looking back at the past game, Walter Clayton's 4 for 16 from three. So like that's really uncommon to him. Like he's a way better shooter than that. I feel like just that being at home, their rims, their gym, their fans, they'll be able to just outscore them. There's really gonna be no defense in this game again. Just gonna outscore Bama in this one.
Are you buying either of these teams long term? I think Florida's like kind of an underrated, savvy team.
I have them as a sneaky like Sweet 16 team for sure.
And then Alabama too. Like if they get a few good matchups, like I could see them making some noise because not many teams are going to be able to score 95 to 100 points that you meet up with. Like the SEC, they do have some teams like that this year, like this Florida team, like we've seen with Tennessee, like we've seen with Kentucky. But I don't know. Say you give them like I don't know, maybe like a Michigan State or like a Wisconsin. Like I don't think either of those teams are going to be able to go shot for them if it's like a 8-9 game or something like that. So it's just I think that's the biggest mystery surrounding college basketball this year is the consistency or the lack thereof from a lot of these teams. You don't know what you're going to get every single night from a bunch of these highly ranked squads. So I think it's going to be a pretty crazy next couple weeks here. I kind of like the over in that game. I just think it's going to go back and forth. Don't really have an official play on that one, but I think that's going to be an exciting back and forth game. My second play of the night, I'm going with Notre Dame plus 15. They've been really playing some good basketball over the past month. They've covered the spread in 5 of their last 6 games, and they've covered this number in 17 of their last 18 games, whether they lost by 14 or less or they've won the game itself. They haven't lost by 15 or more since the Citadel beat them by 20 in their own building, I believe. So after that game, that's when Shrewsbury kind of came out and went on that rant in the press conference. And ever since then, they've really turned the corner and have been playing some of the best ball in the ACC. Like if you were just judging them based off of mid-January or something, they might even be kind of like one of those teams in conversation and potentially be going to the tournament. They've been playing that well, and I think it looks certainly good for them going ahead next year. So I look for them to continue that momentum tonight, especially with UNC having the Duke game coming up this weekend. That's a big look-ahead spot. And I think it was the Monday night before they played Duke the last time. Isn't that when they lost to Clemson at home?
UNC.
Yeah, UNC.
Yeah.
So we've seen them already slip up in this look-ahead spot before. I'm not saying Notre Dame's going to win this one outright, but lose it by 14, I could definitely take that to the bank and like that one. All right, we got a few money line parlays cooked up, both squads here. You guys want to hit on yours first?
Yeah, I have. Well, we posted on the card. I think the 4 legs of Milwaukee. They're playing the 1-30 Detroit Mercy tonight, so it'll be fun to see Detroit win that one. Who else did we throw in there? Wake Forest. I mean, they can't afford any losses from here on out if they want to secure their spot in the tournament. So that's why we added them in there. And then we got Kansas in there. I think we got them at like minus 600. They're up to like minus close to 800 now, coming off 2 losses in a row.
And they lost K-State earlier in the year.
Yeah, I don't think Bill Self has lost 3 in a row as a coach, maybe once.
Yeah, I remember that stat was floated around a couple of years ago.
Yeah. What was the last leg we had on there?
KU. Eastern Kentucky.
Oh yeah, Eastern Kentucky. Yeah, Eastern. That was kind of brought a little bit of value, brought it down to around close to even money. I think we got it at minus 130 for those 4 legs. I actually added on my parlay. I added UNC and Auburn in there to get it to even money. I like my plus money parlays, so I had to add them too in there.
I've got Eastern
Auburn,
Kentucky in one of my parlays as well. I took them and Stetson to win tonight, the top 2 seeds there in the ASUN tournament. And they're playing 2 teams that are coming off a game last night in Queens and Jacksonville. So 2 teams played on their second leg of a back-to-back. Other teams coming off rest. Stetson and East Carolina both getting to play at home, even though it's a conference tournament. Stetson 11-2 at home on the year, and Eastern Kentucky 13-3 at home on the year. And as Joe said at the beginning of the show, Eastern Kentucky hasn't lost in the conference, I believe you said, all season at home.
Yeah, that's all I looked at. I didn't even look at all year. I just looked at the conference. I didn't know they didn't lose in the conference at home. I'm not sure about all year.
Yeah, they went 13-3 at home straight up on the year, so a few non-conference losses there. But that's at minus 120. You're getting the number 1 and number 2 seeds in the conference there. I'll take my chances on that instead of taking them against a spread. And I've got another money line parlay cooked up as well. South Florida VCU at minus 122. Both winning on the money line. South Florida at home against Tulane and VCU at home against Duquesne. South Florida has won 20 of their last 21 straight up. And another team like Wake Forest that you were saying can't afford a loss if they won an at-large bid. It doesn't sound like South Florida is going to get much help on the bubble because they have home losses to Maine and Central Michigan, I believe it was. So those are pretty damaging losses. But who knows if some chaos ensues over these next few weeks. Just keep winning games and put yourself in position if you don't win that auto bid. And they're playing a Tulane team who's 0-6 straight up as an away underdog this year. So they haven't won in that spot all year. And then we got VCU, one of the better home court advantages in the entire A10. They're 12-4 straight up as a home favorite this year as well. So that parlay comes in at minus 122. UCF and VCU just win there straight up. You guys got a couple more plays that you want to touch on. I did hear a pretty wild stat about your one play here with UNLV and San Diego State. I want to hear your guys kind of pick reasoning behind that pick before I give that stat.
We both looked at this last night, and we were just kind of. I mean, we thought the line would be somewhere around 2 or 3, and we really sometimes when you really don't like a play, it's the right play, and I think that's one of these scenarios. San Diego State they've been rolling recently, but they're really not the same team on the road as they are at home. So I kind of like just the spot that UNLV's in before their conference tournament.
Joe?
Yeah, I mean, UNLV is still kind of fighting on the bubble, not as much as they were like a week ago. I forget who they lost to, but they dropped Air Force. They beat, that was New Mexico, right?
Yeah, New Mexico lost to Air Force.
I forget UNLV. I mean, I'm not sure where they're hanging around the bubble now. But, I mean, this is a big resume win for them, being a ranked opponent, going and bringing a lot of momentum into the tournament, which is next week. So this is definitely one that they do need to have a chance if they don't win their tournament. So fans will come out. It's a weekday. The place will be packed. And hopefully they could feed off of crowd energy and just kind of jump right on them. You don't really want San Diego State to hang around because then their defense just eventually wears you out and there's really nothing you could do anymore. So hopefully they jump on them early. That's really what they have to do, I think. If they let San Diego State hang around, I think San Diego State definitely pulls it out towards the end.
Yeah, the stat I heard was, I forget if it was the last 2 or 3 years, but against teams ranked outside of the Ken Palm top 40, San Diego State is 53-0 straight up. So, I mean, you don't even need them to win the game. You got them at +2, so could still fit the mold there. But I heard that one after I saw your guys play. I thought that was a little funny. All right, my last play, and then you guys can hit your last play before we get out. We talked about this team a little bit earlier, my long shot pick, but North Florida +3. I'm locking them in there at +3, maybe even might sprinkle on the money line as well. I do think that they have a chance to win this one outright, as I touched on, taking them to win the A-Sun at 20-1. 10-4-1 against the spread as an underdog this year. That's the best in the Atlantic Sun. And like I said, if you're feeling dangerous, 7-8 straight up as an underdog. That's the best record in the A-Sun. So they've been in this spot before, and they've proven the ability to go out there and win at plus money before. So they're playing an Austin Peay team that isn't that much greater than them. You're not going to get a crazy home court advantage at Austin Peay either. So North Florida +3. I think that their fast-paced type of offense catches Austin Peay off guard a little bit tonight. And I think that North Florida is going to win this one outright. So you guys got one more play. It looks like it comes from the SEC. We talked about maybe doing some bets in this fashion last week, and you guys are transitioning over to it for a game tonight. Who is that play in the SEC?
Yeah, we took Georgia. I mean, like you said, we were talking about moving to this style after last week's what do you want to say? I guess meltdown after meltdown throughout the whole week. So we saw this line. We liked Georgia at the price. And then we kind of said, I don't know, like, can they – we kind of said, I don't know if they could – can they pull it out at the end? And we kind of got scared. So we said, all right, we're going to go to this first half method, try this out a little bit. And hopefully they win the first half. And it would be cool to see them melt down in the second half. But we'll see what happens. I like them in the first half a lot.
Yeah, I got the same kind of take, and I was watching. We actually had Mizzou +1 against Ole Miss a few days ago, and like it was pretty much a 20-point game. And then the last 10 minutes, they came back and like we're really one shot away from tying the game. So I kind of like that momentum going into Georgia. I feel like Georgia can really jump on them early and hopefully have a 10+ point lead at the half.
Ole Miss has been one of the weirder teams too. I mean, the way that their season's gone, I think they started out 15-1 or 16-1. Obviously, had a much weaker schedule, but they've been in the SEC, have been kind of notorious for blowing these second half leads and having some bad games down the stretch. So let's see if that kind of method. I've been getting screwed on some spreads like Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. Their last two games, I lost by the hook on them. So tried to transition tonight into a couple money line parlays and switch it up a little bit, get some, close to -110 games on there. But fellas, we'll be having you guys on the next couple weeks, a few more times. We still got the rest of this week for the regular season and then full-fledged conference tournaments as well as March Madness coming up ahead. So thanks for hopping on, guys. Enjoy along our LBI and the Osprey tonight, hopefully. And hopefully the Ospreys cover the +3 spread.
Yeah, hopefully the show flips the ship for us and we get hot going into the real beef of March.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling right. All right, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you probably in a couple days.
Thanks for having us, Beef.